Hey fellow detective, it's Killers Among Us. It's a shocking and tragic story that has been making headlines on the internet. Some have even compared it to the movie's Orphan, which is about a couple who adopt a seemingly innocent orphan girl, only to realize that she has evil intentions to harm their family. But this is not a movie. It is a real-life case that occurred in the Philippines. The story was take place in the town of Cotabato, Philippines, and centered around the Maguad family. The parents, Lovella and Cruz Maguad, was known to be hardworking and kind as they were teachers and principal at a school. They had two children, Gwynn, who was 18, and Louise, who was 16. They were both excellent students and well-liked by their peers. But then there was Janice. Janice was a 70-year-old girl who had only been living with the Maguad family for a few months. She was technically not their daughter, but they had adopted her as their own. Janice was a mysterious figure, and her true background was not clear. She was said to have come from a poor family and was an orphan, which is why she was taken in by the Maguad family. Gwynn and Janice were very close, and Gwynn even convinced her parents to take Janice in and treat her like their own. Janice was considered a cousin by the family and had become friends with the siblings. The kids were so generous, Louise even gave up his room for her to sleep in. On December 10, 2021, the air was tense with anticipation as the parents left for work and the siblings stayed home. But little do they know that this day would bring a horror beyond their wildest nightmares. At around 3 p.m., the father's phone rang and the face turned ashen as he heard the news of an intruder in their home. His heart racing with fear, he raced back to the house only to find the front door locked. With a surge of adrenaline, he kicked down the back door, calling out his children's name in a panic. But there was no response, only an eerie silence that hung heavy in the air. As he stepped further into the house, his eyes widened in terror at the sign before him. Everywhere he turned, red pools of blood stained the floor and walls. And there, lying lifelessly on the floor, were his two beloved children, Gwynn and Louise. Their once bright eyes now vacant, their bodies twisted in pain and agony. The father's heart shattered into a million pieces as the realization of what had happened sunk in. But amidst the tragedy, there was one survivor, Janice, the adopted daughter, was found hiding in her room, her hair still down from a shower. She claimed that 3 robbers had attacked their home, but something about her story just didn't add up. It's almost unfathomable to believe, but the truth is stranger than fiction. As the attack unfolded, Janice did the unthinkable. She turned to social media for help. With shaking fingers, she frantically typed out the message on Facebook, begging for assistance. "Help me guys, help me please," she pleaded. "Someone enter the house, I don't want to die yet. I'm inside the room hiding." The desperation in her words was palpable, as if she was on the brink of death. But what's most baffling is how Janice was able to post on social media without calling for help. Was it a ploy to cover up her involvement in the crime? Or was it a last-ditch effort to reach out to someone, anyone for help? In a bizarre twist, she even included an emoji in her plea for assistance, as if she were unaware of the gravity of the situation. It's a perplexing and unsettling details that only adds to the mystery surrounding this tragic case. As the investigation delved deeper into the tragic events, the details only grew more perplexing. The police discovered a horrifying array of weapons, broken bottles, a knife, a hammer, and a baseball bat, all believed to have been used in the brutal murder. But what was truly shocking was that all of these weapons belonged to the Maguad family. The hammer was the father's, and the baseball bat belonged to their son, Louise. How could an intruder have come in and utilized the family's own weapons against them? It was a chilling thought that sent shivers down everyone's spines. Also, When the police arrived at the scenes of the crime, they were struck by the disarray that greets them. The room where Janice had reportedly been hiding was in complete disarray, as if the corpse had turned the place upside down in their search for something valuable. It seems as though they had left no stone unturned, no corner unchecked in their quest to find what they were looking for. The mess was so extensive that the investigator couldn't help but wonder how it could be possible for someone to remain hidden in such chaos without being discovered. The autopsy conducted on the bodies of Gwynn and Louise were a horrifying sign for the investigator. The reports revealed that Gwynn had suffered a staggering 21 stab wounds, while Louise had endured a brutal 51. The viciousness of the attack was beyond comprehension. It was as if the perpetrator has been consumed by a voracious anger and an insatiable hatred. As the investigator pored over the evidence, one thing became increasingly clear. The murders were personal and targeted. The only items missing from the home was Gwynn's cell phone, a fact that further cements the notion that the killer had a specific motive and was not acting randomly. Further investigation reveals that the perpetrator had taken their time after committing the crime. They had made use of the family's laundry area to wash their bodies and change their underwears and pants. The clothing was then carefully stowed away in a plastic bag, as if the corpse was attempting to conceal their tracks. But their efforts were not enough to evade the watchful eyes of the authorities. As they tried to dispose of the bag in the nearby irrigation, a branch obstructed their path, and the police were eventually able to retrieve it. But the strangeness didn't end there. Janice's story began to unravel under the scrutiny of the investigation. She claimed that 3 robbers had broken into their home, but the police found no evidence of a robbery. And why was Janice taking a shower during the attack? Was she trying to wash away any trace of evidence? The piece of the puzzle just didn't fit together, leaving everyone grasping for answer. As the news of the tragedy spread, the internet was abuzz with theories and speculations about what really happened that day. Was Janice the mastermind behind the attack, or an innocent victim caught up in a terrible situation? The truth remained elusive, shrouded in a cloud of mystery that only deepened with each passing day. As the investigation continued, new evidence emerged that further heightened suspicions about Janice's involvement in the heinous crime. The media citing Janice's erratic behavior during the attack, including her social media posts and taking a shower at a time. Even more concerning was the fact that Janice referred to her adoptive parents as mom and dad for the first time on the day of the incident, leading many to question her true intentions. Janice's past behavior only added fuel to the fire of suspicion. She had a duplicitous nature, presenting a kind and innocent persona to the outside world while harboring darker tendencies in private. Her history of stealing from the family and expressing disdain for them to her boyfriend only served to cast doubt on her. The evidence against Janice continued to mount until it could no longer be ignored. Police confirmed that the fingerprints found on the weapons, especially the baseball bats, matched Janice. And to make matters worse, her bloody clothes were discovered hidden at the back of the house. Confronted with the damning evidence, Janice finally confessed to her lawyer that she was, in fact, responsible for the brutal murders of her siblings. Janice, a mysterious wrapped in a tragedy. As the investigation into the gruesome murders of her siblings unfolded, the public couldn't help but wonder who this enigmatic girl really was and what drove her to commit such a heinous act. Online detective, known as ㅅThe, dug deep in Janice's past, unearthing a post from 2013 in which someone was searching for their missing little girl. The picture attached to the post bore a striking resemblance to a young Janice, fueling speculation that she may have been a runaway or a victim of abuse. Her emotional state was also under scrutiny, with many noting her tendency to repost sad memes and quotes on social media. The last post that she posted on Facebook was a quote, "Someday everything will end soon." The motive for Janice's actions was equally murky. According to her parents, she was fiercely jealous of her stepsister Gwyn's success and happiness. Having grown up in an abusive household with 5 other siblings, Janice may have longed for undivided attention and resent having to share her parents' love. In a chilling display of premeditation, Janice meticulously orchestrated her sinister plan. It is unfathomable that a mere 70 years old could overpower 2 unsuspecting individuals without careful forethoughts. The unsuspecting siblings were entirely unprepared for the horror that awaits them. Demonstrating her cunning, Janice was well aware of the weapon's location, ensuring they were readily accessible for her nefarious scheme. When Janice was confronted about the murders of her adoptive siblings, she crumbled under the weight of her own guilt. She confessed to orchestrating the killings, but made it clear that she was not alone in her heinous plan. She reveals that a 70-year-old boy, known only by the alias Merlin to protect his identity as a minor, had aided her in the crime. Together, they had carried out the murders, washed up, and disposed of the incriminating evidence. Janice's hatred for Gwyn has been simmering for a long time, and in Facebook messengers between her and Merlin dating as far back as December 1st, they had been plotting the murder. In these messengers, Janice expressed her loathing for Gwyn and begged Merlin to help her to kill her siblings. Her jealousy had driven her to commit these heinous acts, even though Crizzle and Lovella had showered her with love and affection. Although she admitted to killing Gwyn out of sheer jealousy, she never explained why Louise had to die as well. The authorities wasted no time in solving the case, and within 6 days, Merlin was apprehended. During his arrest, they found Gwyn's missing cell phone in his possession. Janice was also taken into custody, and both were sent to a juvenile facility. The other children in the facility were uneasy around her and requested to be relocated. Later on, the Maguads would learn of Gwyn's bravery in the face of danger. When Merlin initially attacked the siblings, Gwyn managed to escape the house. However, she turned back to save her little brother and Janice, not realizing that the latter was the mastermind behind the attack. As Janice stabbed her repeatedly, Gwyn cried out in disbelief. "This is just a dream. This is just a dream. I'm still going to be a doctor. I don't know what's wrong I did to you, Janice. I love you very much." The gruesome details of the crime left the Maguads reeling, struggling to come to terms with the senseless loss of their beloved children. It is truly heart-wrenching to consider the fate of 2 beautiful souls and their grieving family. They have selflessly opened their home to someone they believed need help, only to be met with unspeakable treachery. Like a scene from a chilling film, who could have suspected an innocent-looking young orphan would possess such darkness behind her wide, guileless eyes? After the incident, the Maguad family were conflicted. They were torn between their religious belief and the heinous act that Janice had committed. Despite her role in the murder of Gwyn and Louis, they initially felt that Janice deserved forgiveness. They believed that poverty, a lack of education, and an unknown childhood trauma had driven her to her action. But that all changed when they saw Janice in court. Her eyes, cold and empty, left an indelible mark on their memories. It was apparent that Janice had no remorse for what she had done, and no amount of forgiveness could change that. The Maguads were shocked and disgusted that, despite everything they had done for her, Janice had never once apologized for her crimes. The Maguad's parents said, "We were so proud when we adopted Janice because we thought God was using us to help this young girl. It was a blessing, but then this is what we get." Lament Lovella Maguad, expressing the family's deep disappointment and frustration at Janice's lack of empathy. In one particularly intriguing post, Janice showcased a tantalizing collage of luxuries, glittery, and expensive items. Perhaps this was the life she yearned for, a fantastical escape from her current existence. It was a haunting reminder of the twisted desire that may have driven her to commit such heinous acts. Despite their initial hesitation to condemn Janice, the evidence against her and her co-conspirator Malene was overwhelming. They were tried separately for the murders of Gwynn and Louis Maguad, and both were ultimately sentenced to 32 years in prison without the possibility of parole. What are your thoughts on this harrowing tale? Share your insights and reflection on the Maguad case and its chilling implications. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on my future videos. I appreciate all of your support, and I will see you in my next video.